Do we do questions or? No.
Tomorrow, not that I'm on, but somebody's on. Go home, what can you do? Hang around school.
Worked earlier. Computer 2.
Do you want any, you want a cue at when 15 minutes is?
You know what,
You're okay?
I'll start my
Okay.
stopwatch.
Not that, I mean, not that, that's no bearing on you.
Yeah. Okay. How long did I talk?
Grab the
I
mic.
feel like an hour and a half, but that's all right.
It felt like it.
Should I grab the mic?
Yes. Well, maybe wake up the computer. Yeah.
Fine.
No, you should come log in because maybe everybody's stuff will get erased if they log
Okay. Okay, I guess I'll just start rolling. I decided to label. Where's my notes?
Right here.
Yes, thanks. Okay, I decided to start to call my talk "Learning to Lie Again," and you'll soon figure out why. This is going to be more about the trajectory of my work and how it all holds together, or not how it holds together, but kind of the development that it's gone through, rather than the work itself. And essentially, my work is a combination of three forces. It is my experience as a theater tech in a pretty edgy theater in Detroit. We did some pretty, I guess you could say, avant-garde stuff, and it was a lot of fun. I did a lot of multimedia stuff, working with video monitors, interacting with the actors, and it was just a ball, and it was a huge influence, and it kind of carried me through my work as a commercial artist. I don't know if any of you have had the pleasure of being a commercial artist, but it is. There's a bit of a drag. It's well, actually, quite a bit of a drag. You're constantly putting a gloss over things. You're constantly telling myths. You're constantly telling lies, and that's where this is going. And then the third factor is a fascination with electronics, and I'll go into why I had a fascination with electronics in another talk sometime. Okay. The first work, not a good work, not necessarily, more conceptual, but it shows, like, it's kind of the first step in this process. It's called the Caecilius Epitaph, and what that is, that is the, this is my, okay, that is, it's supposedly the oldest recorded document of a musical score. And there's been a lot of, and I'll show you the score. There's a lot of debate as to how to interpret those Greek letters. It's a Greek score. How to interpret those, and there's a lot of performers have tried, and there's arguments about, like, how it should be performed. And I figured, you know what, I can do the best damn performance, the most authentic performance ever. And this is the performance that I did of the work. And I wish I could stop it, but I'll let it go. essentially, I don't know if anybody has ever opened up a text file accidentally in a, I think I kind of like it really, but okay, so I don't know if you ever opened up a text file accidentally opened up an image file in a text document, and you see all this gibberish. There actually is some relation of that data to the image, and what I decided is to take an image and open it up in there's certain freeware that will let you do this. Take an image and open it up in an audio editing program, and it creates audio information, and that's what that is. And that is an interpretation, a musical interpretation of that score. Musical is debatable. I don't know if it's art, but it's kind of a philosophical statement. And that was kind of the first step. I was going for pure truth, pure veracity, pure whatever, and that's what I got. So the next work that I did that's kind of going down that path towards, it's searching for truth, searching for getting rid of the gloss, but it's starting to head towards theater and myth a little bit, is Big Bang's piece. And what that is I came across this computer model by a guy named John Kramer at Washington University, who took some information of the Big Bang and made a computer model of it and turned it into audio information, kind of like the way I did in that previous piece. And his is 100 seconds long, and it's a loop, like the Big Bang, like the way the universe it explodes and supposedly it's going to contract again. And what I did was and again, this is kind of, as I said, kind of edging towards myth, because I decided I would show that if you take this and multiply it, instead of showing the universe, it's showing the multiverse. And actually, I played this on it was actually 3 different tape recorders. I didn't have all tape recorders when I was documenting this. This is a kind of approximation. So anyway, so you can hear like the 3 different loops of like expanding and contracting. And and they're slightly out of sync, and each tape recorder one might be playing at 100%, another one might be playing at 99%, another one might be playing at 102%. So they're slightly out of sync. So my idea was just to play this in a gallery and constantly let it go, and it would just fall out of sync with itself. So the next piece, and again, it's truth, but it's edging towards theater a little bit. The next piece is I call it 10,000 Hours. And that is a reference to Malcolm Gladwell's idea of if you practice anything for 10,000 hours, you become a master of it. And what I was going with here is, instead of looking for aesthetics in the piece itself and the truth of it itself, I started looking towards process to make aesthetic decisions for me. And what this piece is I decided to research the process or examine the process of what it takes to become a master at something. But instead of looking at the end, I wanted to look at the first 3 minutes. And what I did is I took 9 musicians, and I gave them instruments, and they're all very accomplished musicians. I gave them instruments that they'd never played before, and I gave them a metronome, and the metronome is synced for every single person. I'll go into the process is how to record, how exactly I did this later. But anyway, so then I told them to each play a song, and I don't even remember what the song is. It's like Row, Row, Row Your Boat, or Mary Had a Little, I think it's Row, Row, Row Your Boat. It's almost completely not discernible. I'll play it right here. And so this is it is an examination of the process of mastery for 3 minutes. And that time code, by the way, is 10,000 hours in time code. It's like, I think it's like years, months, days, and so it's counting down towards mastery. So if I actually let this go for more than 3 minutes and went down to 0, all these guys would be masters at what they're doing. I'm not going to torture you with the rest of that. Again, it's looking at truth, looking for truth, trying to get rid of the gloss, exercise that from my being. And it's a little bit more towards theater. The next piece in CD is, again, it's more towards theater yet. I'm making more aesthetic decisions. actively. I'm not, it's still process driven, but I'm still actively making decisions. In CD is a reference, the title is a nod to Terry Riley's, minimalist composer Terry Riley's work in C, where he had several musicians. Actually, it doesn't really matter how many musicians there are. It could be, I think he specifies from like 10 to 30 or something, I don't know. But he gives them 28 measures of music and tells them, you have to play these in order, but you can play each part as many times as you want. So inevitably, of course, all the musicians get out of sync with each other. But because it's in C, it's in the key of C, and and all the notes are very simple Pythagorean intervals of just fifths, sevenths, and octaves. It makes a cohesive whole. I decided to do this with CD players. I took an entire CD of a sine wave, the simple sine wave, that's the most basic unit of audio, of C, and I scratched it. And then I played it on a CD player, recorded it, and I took an interval up from C, played it on a CD player, scratched it. And I did that all the way up. It took fifths, sevenths, and octaves up and down. And I did it to all these CDs, but then I made this aesthetic decision based on, well, then I played it on a CD player, and then it made these interesting skipping patterns. And just like Terry Riley deciding like which of the patterns kind of should go together and that the musicians play in order, I put them all on a CD, and then I scratched that CD and then put it on 4 separate CD players, so they inevitably go out of sync with each other. And as you can see, I'm starting to make more aesthetic decisions. There's a little bit more of a narrative here. It's a little bit more towards theater, less towards this inoculation of commercial work. And you know what? I just while this is playing, in my artist statement, I did mention commercial work a lot, and I always got rid of it, or I always got it didn't seem like it should be there. But when I put all my work together, it is something that is unavoidable. It really is a development I've gone through. So I just wanted to say that aside while this is playing. Okay, so the next work is even more towards theater, more towards creating narratives, more towards making myths, fabrications. It's called Critique Machine. And this is where, but I'm still letting a system make aesthetic decisions for me. In Critique Machine, I took 50 speakers, hung them from the ceiling, and created this central brain-like mechanism of motors and selector switches, and the audio is going from the central nerve center to the speakers at a pretty random, well, completely, almost totally random. It's impossible to exactly figure out where they're going. There's also a narrative involved with this because the voices that you're hearing is actually the voices of the faculty, and it's somewhat of a self-portrait. It's called Critique Machine because as a student, as students here, it's like we're hearing all these ideas surrounding us, and it's kind of what we come up with is like these, like in response to these, we come up with like these Frankenstein works. Sometimes they're gorgeous, sometimes they're just a monster, and this is my interpretation of that process. Probably hear some of the louder faculty speaking in the background. But. So again, it's like as you're walking through this space, it's never the same experience twice. Like there's like the process is making decisions for me. But again, it's a little bit more. It's more towards theater. I liken this piece, in fact, to creating. I wanted to create a theater set without actors, and the system is doing the work for me. So the last piece, I think I went a little bit too far. It's almost completely theater. It's completely fabrication, completely lies. There's nothing in this piece that that really serves a legitimate well, I'm sorry, very few things in this piece serve a legitimate function towards creating the audio experience that I'm going for. It's a complete lie. I don't have great documentation of this because this work is a work in progress. As I said, I'm creating lies. It's the viewer or the experiencer, whatever you want to call it, sits down in this seat here. They're going to press a lever and the helmet's going to come down on their head. They're going to throw a Frankenstein type looking switch, can't really see it right there, and then 15,000 volts, which actually is 15,000 volts, come up out of there. And this is a spoiler alert. Actually, you don't get electrocuted. That's kind of the myth. But it's making you think that you actually are, because in the helmet are these resonance speakers. And there's a signal that's going from this electrical unit, an audio signal going from that electrical unit to the speaker. And then there's still a little bit of process in here in that I've got a microcontroller that is randomly activating each of these resonance speakers, and it's going around your head, and hopefully it's going to make you think that you're getting electrocuted. And that is like the complete, that is, I think, the end of this process that I'm going to go towards theater. And I think that my comfort zone is a little bit more in the realm of like the critique machine or maybe in an NCD to some extent. But this was a very good exercise of me to kind of shake those conventions and to realize that that almost my pursuit of truth and my pursuit of like getting rid of a gloss is almost kind of infantile, and myths are beautiful. And it's not really the act of telling lies and myths that is something that's bad. It's really like the lies or the myths that you tell. And that's the end of my presentation.
I don't know if you want to take a